check in yet?
It is tense here.
We're sorry about that, honestly.
The organizers are right to be worried.
Because these guys, they're scumbags. They're ruining America.
Not everyone here is on their side.
Wait, why is he wearing a fucking keffiyeh pattern, dude? Like,
Hey, who are you with?
CNN.
Oh no!
We watched as far-right troll and Pizzagate conspiracy theorist Jack Posobiec tried to disguise himself as a pro-Palestine protester.
Now, the mainstream media isn't going to be out here. I haven't seen anyone from the mainstream media that's hanging out here.
But his disguise didn't work out.
Hey, Jack! How are you? This is a right-wing fascist.
And Jack the Troll got trolled.
How many abortions have you had today?
DNC. I'm getting paid by George Soros to have an abortion on the stage.
I'll be broadcasting live.
But it's not just outside the event. This year's DNC was the first where creators or influencers were treated the same as the mainstream press. One of the biggest stars in the new world of news consumption is Hasan Piker.
I'll put this in the trunk too. How are you letting this guy drive?
How do you explain what it is you do?
I have a pretty easy explanation for people that are older. I basically do what Rush Limbaugh used to do, right? But online instead of on radio. And also, I don't have brainworms.
This game is woke.
oh, they cut out the part where I said brainworms, both literally and figuratively. And also a crippling painkiller addiction. I knew it though. I knew that they were going to cut out. I knew that they were going to cut out a bunch of the stuff that I said because I was saying a lot. Okay.
Hasan has almost 3 million followers on the video game streaming platform Twitch.
I'm talking for 8 to 10 hours every day.
8 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's how you know. Wait, hold up. By the way, this is how you can spot a motherfucker who's a foreigner, okay? You see that? Y'all don't have this shit. Right? I don't think Americans have this. Right? You do? No, not hands. The fucking, the vaccine injury.
8 to 10 hours every day.
Older generations do?
Yeah.
Where he streams live almost all day watching the news.
The former president was found guilty of all 34 felony counts teen election.
And playing video games.
How do we fight again? I totally forgot.
Sometimes playing a character named after me. He even tries to do an Irish accent.
My name is Donny O'Sullivan, sir.
I'm fascinated with Republicans, and I obviously...
No, your parents saw me do the Donny O'Sullivan accent. Oh, no. The vaccine arm, my parents have that. Oh, no, they put that in there. God damn. God damn, Donny, what did you do? Oh, hell no. Oh, my God. I'm cooked, brother. I am cooked.
You always loved the hits that you would do when you go to these rallies and you talk to them.
Before we get out, people might confuse us.
Yeah.
You're 6'4", built like myself. Are you a Harris supporter?
I wouldn't say I'm a Harris supporter.
You'll vote for her?
Maybe. We'll see. I get a lot of criticism from the Democratic Party loyalists regardless.
Yeah.
Hasan was about to try and live stream all day from the DNC.
Pray to God that the internet is stable. Wait, this is my permanent space? This is fire. I mean, this is cool, and it's much cooler than I anticipated.
I can see CNN from here. Yeah. Anderson! There's a restraining order. So this is in your rider.
That would not be in my rider.
Protein. We need more protein in here.
It would feature Core Power Elite, 42 grams of protein, 230 calories.
Sick!
On the face of it, Hasan is a bro. One of these so-called masculine men that Jackson and Charmhold revere and aspire to be.
Do you know about this mega communism?
Yes, Jackson Hinkle being one of them. He was like a Bernie bro, I think, back in the day. I don't know anything about the guy.
You were a Bernie guy. You were a Bernie
Bernie bro?
Yeah, I like Bernie a lot, yeah.
But Hasan says his brand of masculinity is very, very different to Jackson's.
Hitler, at the end of the war, he killed himself. He's a faggot.
Like, how does this happen? Where you are to the right of Adolf Hitler?
What is it about some of these guys that has made them go from far left to far right?
Like every young man in a certain point of their lives have like had some kind of insecurity, whether it be about their sexuality or whether it be about like their future prospects or whatever. And I think that like a lot of these guys take advantage of that and present this false narrative that like, in order to be a man, you got to be like homophobic. It's like, no, a real man is going to want to protect people who are marginalized.
It really is getting intertwined more and more with politics, where a lot of young men who are disillusioned for whatever reason, they don't have a girlfriend, they don't have a job, and they have people telling them, wait, this is not your fault. And to some extent, you know, it's a societal issue, of course, but here specifically is who to blame, in a way that can have profound impacts for our society and our politics.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct, which is why I always advocate to fix the underlying material inequalities that creates a perfect opportunity for these kind of guys to be radicalized in this way.
The DNC had given Hasan a nice setup.
Whoa, I just dropped 0. What is happening?
But didn't give the Twitch streamer the thing he needed most, a working internet connection.
It's completely gone. The internet is completely gone. They shut it off.
With the great Patti LaBelle rehearsing behind him,
what the
we left Hasan to figure out his technical difficulties. As we moved around the DNC, we saw more and more creators and influencers, each one trying to upstage the other.
Okay, so I'm here at the Democratic DNC Day 1.
What is a skibbity? That's such BS.
So you got Ben and Harry here. You got a right-wing guy versus a really big supporter for Harris here. I gotta give it to them. They are arguing statistics and policies. It hasn't devolved into culture war bullshit yet.
But that didn't last long.
Okay, well, I did it. I used the gender-neutral bathroom, and out there, here you are, there is something wrong with that.
Ben had soon moved on to the convention's gender-neutral restrooms.
How was that experience?
I'll tell you what.
He was joined at the restrooms by Mike Lindell, the pillow salesman and election denier who was also in disguise.
Yeah, dude. Normal stuff, man. Normal stuff. I'm here at the gender-neutral bathroom of the DNC. Like, the moment that you seek out shit like that, and don't even recognize how fucking weird you are for that, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? It's just like, bro, you got a gender-neutral bathroom in your fucking house, man. Like, what's wrong with you?
Shaving off my mustache. We're going inside the Democrat convention in disguise. Are you from Ireland?
I did not recognize you.
Mike isn't exactly discreet.
I snuck in. I'm in the Democrat convention.
Lindell debated too, with a 12-year-old content creator.
257,000 votes. This happened last week. A judge ruled in Georgia.
Who wasn't buying it.
So your sources trust me, bro? That's your source? He provided no facts, no sources.
Mike Lindell just got rolled.
Imagine getting rolled by a 12-year-old, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy, dude. You got absolutely fucking destroyed.
By a 12-year-old.
Jackson Hinkle didn't make it to Chicago for the convention this summer, but he had made multiple trips to Russia.
Now I'm in Vladivostok. I'm safe for the time being.
I wanted to find out who Jack...
This is why I'm saying, like, something about this smells weird, bro. You go to Russia and you cut pro-Russian propaganda, okay, and you're not like Tucker Carlson, right? And beyond that, you go to Venezuela, you know what I mean? It's like, listen, I'm not equating Venezuela to Russia at all, but like, it is wild that he is going to all of these fucking places and does not get even any scrutiny from the federal government. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very strange. Because let's be real, I don't talk about a lot of stuff, but you know, usually when you even speak on these issues from the perspective that you speak on, you will maybe sometimes have brush-ins with federal law enforcement agencies. The fact that The fact that he's able to just like travel around like this with no sanctions, like he's in violation of sanctions, he's like getting no scrutiny whatsoever, feels a little Fed-like to me.
Jackson really is, so we finally got to speak to him.
You are an absolute gift to the propagandists in Russia and China.
I'm a gift to the free people of the world.
And to some of the people who knew him best.
Are you worried for him?
I'm more worried for myself doing this right now, honestly, but
why?
I don't want his army coming after me for speaking out against the MAGA communism movement.
Weren't you cutting pro-China propaganda at 24 is completely normal? I mean, I would.
Vote for hope, not fear and divisiveness. Surfers for Kennedy. Surfers for Kennedy. Surfers for Kennedy. What do you think about a surfing president? Get him, get him, get him, get him.
It's like, bro. There was a chatter in the chat that just said this as well. Like, there's motherfuckers whose family live in Russia, okay? And they don't go to Russia. There's dudes whose family members, there are Americans living on America's soil, Russian Americans, who can't go and visit their fucking family members, and this guy just keeps traveling in and out of Russia freely? A little odd. Just saying, a little odd, okay?
What's his name?
BG.
He's beautiful.
A surfing competition isn't exactly where you might expect all of this political activity.
But also, if he's a Fed, why would Russia allow him in? I don't know. I mean, they allowed Tucker Carlson in. They let Tucker Carlson in.
Activity.
300 Biden, man. 300 Biden. He's my president.
But this is an election year, and this is Orange County in Southern California.
I voted for Reagan.
Yeah.
I voted for Perot. And ever since then, I've voted Democrat. I feel heartbroken about the corruption of the Democratic Party.
Irina Morris voted Democrat for decades, but since RFK dropped out of the race and endorsed Trump, she says she'll now probably vote MAGA.
I'm voting against the appointee from the swamp factory.
Jackson Hinkle has had a similar, albeit more dramatic.
Was he in, like, the Ansar Allah thing? Was he actually in fucking Yemen? No,
Trump,
right?
She says she'll now probably vote MAGA.
I'm voting against the appointee from the swamp factory.
He didn't actually, like, this was, oh no, he was just like, he was doing a Zoom call. Okay. Because that was like also kind of weird.
Jackson Hinkle has had a similar, albeit more dramatic journey from the political left to the political right. Before he was a social media firebrand and before he was a darling of the Kremlin and Russian state TV, Jackson grew up here. And just a few short years ago, he was a soft-spoken kid who picked up trash on the beach and organized to cut down on plastics in his school.
We really bonded because we were...
I'm an idiot. Would explain her purpose he plays as a Fed. What purpose does he play as a Fed? He gets fucking insider access because he's like supposedly a sanctioned propagandist for America's enemies. What do you mean? Like, that's huge. What the fuck are you talking about? He's doing Zoom calls with Ansar Allah. It also, in the American front, it also completely delegitimizes any kind of like real leftist, any kind of real leftist momentum. He gets to have direct insight into, whatever like supposedly socialist splinter that he's a part of, you know? Like, there is no like the American State Department will work with anyone. They'll even work with fucking like real socialists from time to time. You know what I mean? Like they don't give a shit. It's about advancing a cause. And the American government has worked with splinter socialist movements. Like, for example, Larishites. Do you ever think we'll definitively know if these guys work with the State Department? I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I mean they work with the Kurdish revolutionary groups in Rojava. Brace Belden. Think about that. Like getting trained by American trainers in Rojava as a anti-ISIS fighting force. Like that's a thing that happens. Anyway, but who knows? I'm not saying that he is. I'm simply saying that he gets to do a bunch of stuff. He gets to do a bunch of stuff that I feel like if other people tried to do, they would get a visit. Like they would face restrictions, if that makes sense.
We were in the same environmental science class.
Josh Green was friends with Jackson all throughout their teens.
We were some of the few liberal students in our entire school. We had a very conservative student body.
Josh and Jackson campaigned for liberal causes together.
And so,
have you ever been approached by any governments? Yes, I have. Famously, there is one country that I don't really go back to, if you know. It wasn't a positive approach by a government.
So we would often be
but a negative one.
Ridiculed for standing up for progressive issues like the environment or gun safety.
Wait, Brace Belden is a Fed? No, dude. Brace is not a fucking Fed. What? Who do you think was training the fighters in Rojava, the Kurdish militants in Rojava? It was American trainers. Some, I suspect, from literally the State Department as well. I'm using that as an example that like you can be a socialist and the State Department might have use for you. Do you understand?
Or gay rights. You know, people thought that we were, you know, soft leftist snowflakes.
After Jackson graduated high school, he was the youngest person here to run for city council.
I think that a good city council candidate has to be well-versed on the issues.
Orange County is very conservative. What are you rascally kids up to in this run for office?
We're up to a lot right now.
He had a remarkable little career considering he was just out of high school. He's putting himself through junior college. And he was responsible for all the solar panels that you see around San Clemente High School. And that was his idea. And he just had that drive, that you see in some young people, but not a lot of them.
And a natural communicator.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Jackson lost his election bid and sometime thereafter lost his youthful politics as well.
A lot of what I had been force-fed through my education as a young individual was all propaganda.
Something had turned him into this.
You're gonna kind of go down the path of faggots like that. They were all transgenders and gays.
But Nazis?
Yes.
Hey, man.
I'd been searching for answers about Jackson, and he agreed to sit down and talk to me directly.
You're promoting something called MAGA communism.
Yes.
Which to a lot of people is going to sound moronic.
Well, I think it causes a lot of people to reassess their cancellation of the MAGA working class, and they've been written off. They've been called racist or, you know, any sorts of names. They've just been canceled.
You are in some ways the quintessential American man, right? You're surfer guy, California. So for the Russians or the Chinese to have somebody like you to go over there and basically shit all over America.
No shitting on America. I love this country. I love the people. I just want it to be better.
Is there not a way to do that without having to fly back and forth to Moscow and and seem to be embracing authoritarian regimes.
Well, they're far less authoritarian than the United States.
Come on, man.
Ultimately,
you'd come
like that. Oh my god. Oh my god. First of all, the very fact that you can fucking travel, even if you're not a Fed, the very fact that you are traveling in and out, like, I mean, automatically, like America gets to be not authoritarian seemingly on its face because it's the dominant hegemonic superpower. That's it. Okay? That's it. That's the correct argument. America has some semblance of free speech, which we are genuinely experiencing a noticeable decline in said free speech, for the record. You know, free speech, as long as you're not, you know, criticizing or hurting Israel's feelings. Okay? But in terms of like authoritarian, like things that governments do that are inherently authoritarian, some governments have to do that as a direct consequence of like assuming defensive posture, but many governments do it because they don't have that level of power that the United States has. Okay? And the less power that America has at the global stage, the more you will see America adopt more and more authoritarian positions, taking away civil liberties. Okay? In terms of foreign policy, yes, America is a force of evil around the world. Okay? For sure. But you can't turn around and be like, but Russia is like better or Russia is good. They're not. Russia is also incredibly authoritarian in ways that are even more overt than American authoritarianism. Okay, that's number one. And number two, Russia is doing America shit in Ukraine as a regional superpower. I agree, but not everything they do is evil. There's some good people at USAID, for instance. Dude, you are so funny when you come in here and you are like 3 steps removed from Neek Skit, Cloud District Enjoyer, who previously claimed he had not debated me on certain issues that pertain to Kamala Harris, but it was actually him, and then turned around and said, there's some good people at USAID. Yeah, dude, what is USAID? What do they do? What is... This is the same guy who said it wasn't him that had argued about Kamala Harris. I'm pretty sure it is him. Trump is currently speaking with purple pink hair on stage in pen. What? No, Control F is not going to give me the answer that I'm looking for here. Because it's only going to, because he chats a lot. And I just remember him fucking duking it out with me on some shit. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. But anyway, yes, the USAID does humanitarian work, and it does humanitarian work so that it can maintain a shred of legitimacy when it's not doing humanitarian work. Okay? They do work under the guise of doing humanitarian work that is not so humanitarian. Do you understand what I'm saying? Trump is live talking with purple hair. He's gone full lib. What are you guys talking about, man? What the fuck do you mean he's got purple hair?
And we are going to, and you know, when you do that.
Y'all are so dumb,
so
dude.
The #1 rated country is Norway.
Y'all are so dumb. It's just bisexual lighting, dude. He is zesty. He is bi. You know this already. It's called bi visibility, sweetie. Look it up. Okay? Look it up. The U.S. Army Special Forces also does local dentistry and veterinary work. Doesn't make them a net positive. No, but USAID is more than that. USAID is a front for the State Department to, sometimes engage in humanitarian aid that's not so humanitarian under the guise of humanitarian aid in direct violation of international human rights. Sometimes they're shipping in medicine. Sometimes they're shipping in medicine. Other times they're shipping in weapons under medicine for rebel groups. U.S. secretly built Cuban Twitter to stir unrest. Yeah. It is unclear whether the scheme was legal under U.S. law, which requires written authorization of covert action by the president and congressional notification. Officials of the USAID would not say who had approved the program or whether the White House was aware of it. The Cuban government declined a request for comment. USAID Administrator Rajiv Shah said Thursday that it was not a covert program, though parts of it were done discreetly in order to protect the people involved. Shah said on MSNBC that a study by the U.S. Government Accountability Office found the project to be consistent with the law. Oh, this is the one. Yes, thank you. My point is the DNC messaging was asked from Harris, but they haven't shifted away from that progressive policy that they had before the DNC. They haven't rejected the price caps, the building, the child tax credit, the infrastructure, etc. Policy is not chased as the DNC. The rhetoric got significantly worse at the DNC, but those policies you like didn't leave the platform. Listen, bro, I remember all you motherfuckers, okay? This was after. No. This is what I'm talking about. Okay? This is what I'm talking about. I remember you motherfuckers. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's all good. It's not a problem. It's just but yeah, USAID is perhaps one of the more nefarious mechanisms in which the State Department operates under the guise of humanitarian aid when it's maybe not doing so much humanitarian aid. They say they're doing humanitarian aid in order to bypass certain restrictions that they would otherwise have, otherwise not get. Doesn't USAID help a lot of countries who need help, whether it's medical care or poverty relief for democratic actors? They seem so nice. Yeah, they do. Anyway. Let's get back to the video.
Ultimately, I live in the generation where for the first time there's going to be a lower standard of living than the previous generation. That's not good.
And I mean, I hear all that, but when you say Russia and China have got it better.
Well, their major cities are much nicer. If you go and take high-speed rail hours into China,
you can't genuinely say that people in Russia and people in China have more liberties than people in the United States.
Well, there's no free speech.
You have a lot of free.
That's crazy. Again, I'm going to repeat something. Okay, he's right about China, but not Russia. No, I mean across the board, Chinese living standards at the lowest level of poverty are still nowhere near close to American living standards at the lowest American level of poverty. That's number one. But what you also need to understand, once again, is that the United States of America can create an environment that is seemingly free, okay? An environment that is seemingly free in terms of like free speech and all this other stuff that they talk about because of the fact that they're the global hegemonic superpower. Okay? Like, I guess if you were to compare like Chinese tier 1 cities to like New York City or other places, especially if you're a wealthy enough person, the quality of living, like living standards in Chinese tier 1 cities are probably better for wealthy people, especially because like there are a lot of problems in American inequality that America refuses to solve. China, on the other hand, sometimes maybe pushes away the problem in the way that Gavin Newsom is doing right now. But again, that standard is not so consistent across the board in the entirety of China, but it has gotten insanely better. That's the point. Okay? The point is China, in comparison to where it was 20 years ago, is not even fathomable. Like, it's not, it is objectively a different country. Okay? They've done quite a bit of development. They still have a long way to go, but they have the mechanisms to implement change, and they are implementing change. My anger towards America is that we have the capacity to do that. We just don't. Due to our short-term profit-seeking attitude and complete capture of our government by capitalist corporations.
Free speech? Really?
You
think
do.
I have free speech?
You don't think you have free speech?
No. I mean, what's the public square today? It's obviously social media.
You have 3 million followers on X. You can post whatever you want. You're hosting events here. How do you not have free speech? What part of your speech is being curtailed?
It's very simple. It's very simple. Yes, I have 3 million followers on X. But what about Instagram? I've been banned. YouTube, I've been banned. I was banned from Raya, a dating site.
Jackson's bans might have something to do with his repeated
That's so embarrassing to admit, dude. Come on.
sharings of hateful posts and his celebrations of violence.
You look like you're in pain.
I'd been left frustrated and confused by Jackson. Did he really believe all the stuff he was saying, or was he just doing it all for social media clout or for money?
I just don't know if I believe you or not.
Like, I've been banned from a fucking an exclusive dating app. This means that I have no free speech is crazy. Okay, that's a crazy thing to say. Like, I've been banned from the celebrity dating app. It's like, yeah, like a chatter said, my girlfriend, it broke up with me. I've been canceled.
Whatever his motivations, his message.
Why don't you watch the Victor Gao versus Mandy video? Because I'm scared, dude. I'm scared of how he's going to do a blistering critique of China, and I want to dick ride China really hard. Or maybe because I don't really give a shit. I like Mahdi, and ultimately I feel as though if I watch that, it's going to be just another fucking silly ass like anti-China video. And not only that, but also I'm going to give a lot of opportunities to fucking the biggest weirdo losers in this community to like clip farm, to be like, see, Hasan loves China or some shit, because you're just going to purposely cut all of the parts where I criticize China and only talk about like the lightest fucking dick riding of China, where I say things like, I like high-speed rail. That's it. Also, it's mostly because I like Mehdi and I want to maintain that attitude. That's pretty much it. That's the major reason. Not because he's going to be like talking to a person, Victor Gao, and Victor Gao is going to be like, oh, nothing is going on in fucking Xinjiang, which I'm going to disagree with him on. And I'm going to agree with Mehdi Hasan on. That's not like the main point of contention. You know what I mean? But it's not going to matter for you because you don't care. You're going to cut those parts out of your clipping, as you always do, which is why so many motherfuckers will be like, Hasan does not care about the Uyghurs in China. Any conversation, in my opinion, that doesn't fucking feature like Chinese development and exclusively talks about Chinese repression is basically replaying the same exact hits, but from a more leftist, a more leftist point of view. You know what I mean? It's just still serving the same interests. Does that make sense? It's still serving the same, like, China fucking sucks, dog. They're our enemy. Look at what they're doing to their own people. It's really fucked up. Instead, you should be serving the top of the hour ad break. And by that, I mean I should be serving it, which comes to the top of every hour. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Where's that chatter? Hold on here. Not this one. And not this one. I know my fucking chatters, dude. Come on. What was his username? Here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. What was the motherfucker's username? I want to look through his logs real quick. The one that was like... No, not Cloud District. No, the one who was like, why are you afraid of covering the Victor Gao interview or whatever? No, it won't. There's actually important info. Just asking to know, brother. Relax. I'm Palestinian myself. I think you don't want to watch the Victor Gao one because Mandy sort of destroys a pro-communist advocate in it. You don't want to watch the Victor Gao one. Like this motherfucker, Mr. I'm Palestinian, is consistently being like, listen, I think you should stop talking about Palestine and start talking about I'm Palestinian. And as a Palestinian, I really want you to stop talking about Israel right now to hyper focus on Mehdi Hasan, destroy a pro-communist China advocate. And he's been fucking spamming this for a month at this point. Maybe he is. Maybe he's Palestinian. But just also, why are you so obsessed with China? Why are you so obsessed with China? The people there, they say, yeah, Palestinian guy who is worried about how obsessed I am with China and also believes that Venezuelan gangs have overtaken apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado. What slums, my guy? Those neighborhoods are better than the fanciest area in my country. Brother, what has he said so far that's racist? This is Tyler Oliveira. This is a Tyler Oliveira video that he's replying to. Interesting stuff from our Palestinian chatter. This Palestinian really has some broad American conservative interests? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, man, as a Palestinian, I really wish you would stop talking about Palestine and start talking about China and how China is actually anti-Muslim instead, please. Thank you.
And his propaganda is resonating.
You know, like Donald Trump, Jackson has definitely found a way to build an audience of people who feel disenfranchised or feel pushed away by our society and our system.
Was there ever a moment for you where you were like, what the hell is going on with my friend?
One of the first was when he did the interview with Tucker Carlson.
No, Biden is plunging us into a fascist state.
Because Tucker Carlson is an asshole. Somebody who, like Jackson, either believes what they're saying or because they get paid a lot to do it. Jackson describes himself as a communist, right? Why? Because he smoked a lot of weed and read Karl Marx. He's the biggest fucking capitalist I've ever seen. I'm so disappointed in what's happened to Jackson. He had this...
Oh my God, I just thought about that. Wait, why does nobody talk about how Jackson Hinkle... Why does nobody ever fucking shit on him for, like, I don't know, expensive purchases or whatever, like constantly fucking pocket watching him? I thought he was a fucking commie. That's right. That's weird, man. Yo, all it takes is for you to fucking slap on the MAGA sticker and people are like, nah, dog, you can have whatever you want, okay? That's crazy. Hasan, nobody knows who this is. No, every dad in Indonesia knows who Jackson Hinkle is. Okay, you don't understand. This man has tremendous pull in Malaysia. I wish I was joking, but it's not a joke. Okay, every Jackson Hinkle post is like swarmed by his massive Malaysian fan base, which is really funny. That's why, like, whenever he posts about me, like being like, this man is trans and gay, they'll be like, it doesn't get any fucking movement at all, because they're like, we don't know who this guy is. We don't care. Talk about Palestine, please. Or Russia.
This opportunity to be something really positive, but he has become the king of conspiracy theories.
The king of conspiracy theories.
Have you heard of somebody called Jackson Hinkle?
Yes.
What do you think about him?
Not my politics at all.
Jackson had been condemned and disavowed by established pro-Palestinian activists.
People see our cause
because he's a fucking charlatan. Because Palestine is at the heart of intersectionality. Like, that's it. It touches on all of the immediate aspects of, like, it touches on all of the immediate aspects of American dominance, American culture of dominance, American imperialism, American violence, and American fascism that is also applied domestically upon marginalized communities. So for someone who's like running around being like, oh yeah, I fucking hate transgenders, that's like a really important part of my politics, like, Sam Piker is allowed to have a nice home. Jimmy Dore is allowed to have a nice home. Marxism does not oppose wealth. It opposes exploitation and profits. Let's focus on the real issues. Hassan Piker is just Adolf Hitler with painted fingernails. Banned. So desperate for viewers, you're leeching off the Hasanabi Discord. Don't quit your day job, brother. Sadly, he did quit his day job. Sad for everyone.
issue as their playground a lot of the times.
But he isn't alone in resetting his political compass.
I feel more like a man already just listening to these gentlemen.
And some of it reflects a big change in American politics.
I think a lot of the younger generation, they have a different perspective of U.S. history of colonialization. They're skeptical of what the government's telling them.
This is CNN, the world's news network.
We have a quiet.
Oh, wow. This is a great setup. And where's CNN from here?
He shaved his mustache in an effort to be incognito.
Back at the DNC.
Dude, I have a better location than Jake Tapper. You should tell Jake that.
Hasan had finally got some working internet.
You are the news now.
I think most people who are like not exactly fans of my perspective are still like, well, that's a famous guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hasan streams live on Twitch pretty much everywhere he goes, even when he's grabbing lunch. He's not a Jackson Hinkle fan and actively calls out the kind of hate Jackson spreads. But
I will say this. There are a lot of people that are on the payroll of the American government, or at least working at the behest of the American military-industrial complex, that say a metric ton of propaganda that is never considered propaganda in that same vein as what Jackson Hinkle is doing. Now, I don't even know what his background is in terms of like if he's getting funded by foreign governments or whatnot.
For all his chauvinism and misinformation, Jackson is speaking to a different understanding of America.
COVID changed the world. There was a radical.
Yeah, like I was talking about, like the American Enterprise Institute. Like, there's that one Syrian dude who like works for the American Enterprise Institute, and he's like, or like Oz Katerji or whatever, the Lebanese journalist, right? Who's like, Israel has to destroy Lebanon. Like all of those guys, like they all get their bread buttered, but because they are ostensibly on the side of American dominance, American imperialism, they're never seen as like ops. They're never seen as like weird. You know what I mean? Because their position is not all that different from, I would say, their position is not all that different from, you know, Anderson fucking Cooper or Jake Tapper. So it doesn't read in the same way that like Jackson Hinkle is actually doing propaganda for a foreign nation. Okay? Does that make sense? Do you guys understand the point I'm making here? Like, I have smoke for those guys as well. That's my difference, at least, from where I'm standing. Like, those dudes are also doing propaganda. It's just pro-American propaganda. And when it's pro-American propaganda, that doesn't read as propaganda. That reads as like normal news. Like, what? These are trusted news resources. Like that other Lebanese guy who went on CNN immediately after Israel's terror attack in Lebanon, where they exploded the fucking pagers, and was like, this is a wonderful operation. That dude works for the Middle Eastern Institute, and he was basically outflanking. He was outflanking Benjamin Netanyahu before Benjamin Netanyahu even made a fucking statement. And he said the exact same thing that Benjamin Netanyahu inevitably said. Oh, Israel is doing this wonderful operation, which is a feat of impressive tech, because they want to decouple Hezbollah from Gaza. They want to show Hezbollah that there are consequences for trying to defend Gaza. That guy is an op. You know, he's getting paid.
Radicalization on the right when it came to lockdowns and it came to masks.
Yeah.
What about on the other side?
The American project hinges on being able to afford your treats. The moment that your access to your treats that are affordable are restricted, everything will fall apart. Society collapses. Because then you're like, well, what the am I doing this for? You know, I have a shit-ass job, no future prospects, barely can make payments, but at least I can go to Applebee's and get $5 jalapeno poppers,
right?
Okay, and hang out with the boys and slam a couple brews, watch some football. COVID broke that a little bit. All of a sudden, everyone was like, well, okay, what's the whole purpose of this then? If I can't have my treats. I think that was like the breaking point for a lot of people.
Jackson Hinkle, 8 years ago, was like a Bernie kid. Now he's hanging out at the Kremlin, basically.
Mm-hmm. I made a conscious decision to be true to myself and say jalapeno poppers, okay?
How does that happen?
I don't think his political compass is very well aligned.
Joshua Frank is the editor of Counterpunch, one of the best-known left-wing magazines in the world.
I certainly don't think he's on the left. I don't know what a mega communist actually.
That right there, by the way. It's a good magazine. Okay? Let me tell you. It's kind of shocking. It's kind of shocking to see Counterpunch on fucking CNN being displayed as also a seeing Counterpunch on CNN being displayed as a as like a reliable, sane outlet that is on the left is kind of cool to see. I never really would have thought I would be presented in that way. And I never really would have thought Counterpunch especially would be presented that way. Counterpunch even more shocking than me, to be honest. Like, where's that chatter that asked if you cared the CNN portrayed you as a lib? So let's just put it this way. Counterpunch has a lot of fucking people, like a lot of reporters. They have a lot of articles and a lot of coverage that like makes its way to TrueAnon.
Actually is, and I don't think he does.
One thing that Jackson and I can agree on, we're both American patriots in the sense that we're willing to criticize our own country. I don't disagree with everything that he says. I think there's way too much Russia phobia in this country. Obviously, the war with Russia and Ukraine is horrible, but I think this country needs to eventually work with countries like Russia and China.
You know, I think a lot of the younger generation, they have a different perspective of U.S. history of colonialization. They're further away from World War II and that narrative. They're skeptical of what the government's telling them to believe, especially when they're seeing an alternative in their social media feeds. But that's also where it can get kind of dangerous, because you do have to have some sense of media literacy.
Yeah. Stuff that is so infuriatingly ill-informed. So many people in his comments, in his community, just take what he's saying as the truth.
Jackson is a Russian propaganda dream, right?
Yeah. Yeah, whether he's doing it and he's on a payroll or not, they're getting a great bargain, right? I mean, if the guy was actually on the left, he would talk about the press in Russia and the crackdown on the free press. They would talk about these things, but they don't, right? And why is that? It raises some flags for me.
Or even like, like, the invasion of Ukraine. Like, that is just completely unjustifiable. There is no rhyme or reason. Like, there is no leftist justification for such a thing. It's just you are deliberately invading a sovereign state. It doesn't matter. Like, all of the Z pushing arguments that I have dealt with in this community in terms of like, well, what about Donbass, right? Like, what about Eastern Ukraine, where there are a lot of like, ethnic Russians or people who are being bombed by their own Ukrainian government for years and years. 14,000 people died. It's like, okay, Russia invading Ukraine killed more people. Like, you didn't, like, what goal did that actually, if your goal is to stop people being bombed, right? So what, is it okay if like Russia bombs them instead? Don't forget the Ukrainian neo-Nazis. I mean, this is the problem. I've talked about Ukrainian neo-Nazis quite a bit with the Azov Battalion and with other football, with other football hooligan groups that Ukrainian anarchists and Ukrainian leftists would duke it out on the streets regularly, and those groups that inevitably became a prominent fixture in the Ukrainian National Guard in the first line of defense. Okay? But that doesn't change the reality. That doesn't change the dynamic even a little bit in terms of like giving any kind of righteous cause to Russia to invade. And it's also additionally ridiculous when, you factor in all of the hyper nationalist groups that are on the hyper nationalist groups that are also on the Russian side. So it doesn't change that dynamic. You have to look at what, you have to look at what they're doing. You have to look at who's in the wrong. I think ultimately, regardless of Western intervention in Ukraine, Russia's invasion of Ukraine was completely unjustifiable. And that's it. And when people talk about, like, there is a couple points that I hear all the time, right? The de-Russification of Eastern Ukraine. Okay. What Russia has done has been significantly worse in Eastern Ukraine and across the board. Or when people talk about denazification, again, there is no righteous cause for this. And also you end up Nazifying the country regardless, especially when nationalists are the first line of defense in this situation. And now they're going to become even more hyper-nationalistic, something that I ironically talked about the day of the invasion. Okay. And NATO expansion is the final aspect of the argument, which is, oh, well, NATO was expanding into Russia's backyard. While I understand NATO expansion as a reasonable realpolitik fear from a regional actor, Russia's invasion of Ukraine literally calcified NATO's prominence in Western Europe and Eastern Europe. It gave an opportunity for Finland and Sweden to also join NATO. Okay? It was one of the fattest gifts that Vladimir Putin could ever give to Western contractors, to the military-industrial complex in the United States of America, to those who want to build arms in Germany, in the UK. That was a gift. We have accelerated weapons manufacturing in Western Europe dramatically since then, scaled up dramatically. When you get goaded into and inevitably end up advancing on a sovereign nation, and lend credence to a lot of the fears that everyone in Europe has in terms of like a Russian invasion, you literally you did it. You gave all of the excuses to your enemies. That's it. They tried. Look at the Nord Stream pipeline. That is the result. Yeah, that's interesting that you say that because it blew up after Russia invaded Ukraine. Don't you think that the international consequences for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline would be dramatically different if Russia was not currently fucking invading Ukraine? Like, what are you talking about? You think fucking, like, at the end of the day, you think our European allies would be like, no, that was so sick that you blew up a pipeline that was, you know, sending us gas. No, they wouldn't be fine with that. Okay? They wouldn't. That's crazy.
Hey, Jackson.
How's it going?
You're breaking up a little bit, but that's okay.
Good. Here in Moscow, Russia. Yes, I see that it is trying to reconnect the internet.
Now he's totally frozen.
When I next spoke to Jackson, he was back in Russia. The Kremlin had organized to bring him to parts of Ukraine it had illegally invaded.
Are they brainwashing you?
No, I think the only people who are being brainwashed are the people paid by the military-industrial complex.
Like this right here is fucking gross, okay? Absolutely gross and completely unacceptable. It's gross when Destiny does it, when he goes to Israel and dick rides Israel. It's gross when Jackson Hinkledink goes to Russia and dick rides Russia. There is no difference, okay? That's the position I'm on. If you have a fucking issue with that, you can suck my dick, all right? That's it. Like, that's gross as fuck, dude. Imagine sitting on top of, like, occupied territories and being like, this shit is sick. I'm vlogging here. Like, get the fuck out of here. And Destiny did that shit, too. Okay? Yeah, he did. He fucking did that shit. It's disgusting. It's just incomprehensible evil shit, okay?
Complex to spout certain views.
You haven't gone kind of full Tucker Carlson yet, though. You haven't gone to a supermarket and started sniffing bread.
Oh, come on. And coming to a Russian grocery store, the heart of evil, it will radicalize you against our leaders. That's how I feel anyway, radicalized.
Jackson denies taking money from the Russian government.
You're a guest, basically, of the Russian Foreign Ministry, right?
There's multiple private and public individuals that I think are supporting my efforts to see the country and you know, showing me the truth about Russia. I pay for my travels. I pay for my hotel expenses.
Every time I think maybe this guy is mature, you tweet something stupid. You did a poll. You are facing a death sentence before a judge, but the judge is on her period. Are you okay with this? Like, are you just a straight up sexist? I just don't understand. What's the deal with this sort of stuff?
Well, of course, you know, you have to introduce comedy into the dark times. But
Jackson and his followers have a warped view of women and of the world.
So I was dating all these women who are LARPing as men, who want power for themselves, who want money, who want to be like men, unlike a traditional woman, and they all failed. Game theory suggests that
You are getting escorted around Russian-occupied Ukraine because you do justify it and say it's good. Yeah, I mean, of course. To be fair, DSA does a trip every few years. No, I'm talking about when they did it. And I mean, you can go to Cuba and stuff too, with like, depending on which coalition you're going with. Like, I almost did in August. But I was at the DNC at the time instead. Me and Lolo were gonna go to Cuba. Yeah, bro, not just Russia, but occupied territory in Ukraine. Yeah, that's like extra crazy, bro. You didn't even just go to Moscow. Even Tucker didn't go to occupied territories in Ukraine. Okay. Like that is weird. Okay.
theory, like men, unlike a traditional woman, and they all failed. Game theory suggests that the problem is not me.
But in an election year like this, a lot of things get warped.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
My mom actually seen a post on Facebook. There was Haitians in a white van driving around the neighborhoods collecting cats.
For what?
Skinning them and eating them.
We've heard from a number of constituents on the ground, Caitlin, who both firsthand and secondhand reports saying this stuff is happening.
If someone calls your office and says they saw Bigfoot, that doesn't mean
This was a banger, dude. I hate to give it to fucking daily callers, Caitlin Collins, but like, that was an insane banger, dude. That was fucking holy shit. That was such a good line.
they saw Bigfoot.
She cooked
J.D.
him.
Vance has also been the target of ridiculous conspiracy theories.
Let me break it down. Yesterday, multiple social media accounts spread fake claims that in his book, Hillbilly Elegy, Vance describes having sex with a couch.
Sitting on a hard couch here.
It's not my thing, but maybe it's J.D. Vance's. You know, it's funny, my mom was asking me about it, and she asked if it was true.
A lewd conspiracy theory about J.D. Vance and a couch doesn't quite undermine American democracy the same way as for years falsely claiming an election was stolen. But it does show how a conspiracy theory that might seem crazy or clearly a joke to some of us might not to someone else, especially if it plays into their political biases.
So, but your mom, who's a Democrat?
Anti-Trump, I would call her.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she was genuinely wondering, did that happen?
Yeah, did that happen?
Yeah.
And that was after when Walz made the comment in his speech.
I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
But I also think that that's our day and age with politics, right? You have someone like Trump and Vance out there saying a million things every day. So the Democrats pushing back in a funny way. It's kind of like they ask for it, right?
I spend a lot of my time talking to Trump supporters, trying to understand the rabbit holes people go down. On your stream, you have a bit of fun with it sometimes. I think you also refer sometimes to Trump supporters as hogs. So you're not going to take the vaccine?
Absolutely not.
What if Trump came out and said, please take this vaccine?
No, I don't believe he'll take it.
Yeah, well, he did, idiot.
But you must feel some empathy.
Oh, sorry. Oh. Good clip. How the fuck did he find that? That's crazy. They pull some choice clips.
At times, some sympathy.
Oh, yeah.
Some people genuinely believe this stuff.
I do ultimately still want to change the minds of people. I don't necessarily fault individuals for going down this rabbit hole because I understand that we're all, in some ways, victim to propaganda. We cannot escape propaganda.
Rachel Maddow, she's broke my heart. Rachel, I thought you'd tell me the story.
More and more of us have people we love, our family, our friends, falling down rabbit holes. Rabbit holes that stoke fear and promote hate. Rabbit holes that can transform people from who they used to be. And rabbit holes that can even take them into war zones at the other side of the world.
Are you being followed by like the Russian security services, or for that matter, the CIA? I mean, surely the American government knows that you're there.
Well, I think if the CIA or the Russian intelligence is doing their job properly, I wouldn't know, and I don't know.
Okay, well, bring me back a fridge magnet or something, will you?
I've actually got a special gift for you. No, you'll like it, I promise.
What the fuck? That was fire. Shouts out to Donny. Shouts out to Donny O'Sullivan. Misinformation, the laws left on CNN. Shit was fire. Absolute banger. I understand why it's not really the focus of this doc, but your full interview with Donnie was so good. I wish it got its own segment on CNN. I wish it was more about you than the other guy, but overall great, to be honest. I mean, it's my friend that has helped me push left years ago has now fallen into the MAGA communist thing and refused to watch this because of the CNN hippies. I don't know what to do with him. Hasanabi greatest moments on CNN was not on my 2024 prediction list. Year of vindication. Yeah. It wasn't on my list either. I mean, that's like two back-to-back very that's two back-to-back very positive media hits